In the heart of imperial Rome, the Flavian amphitheatre, known to us as the Colosseum, stood as a colossal monument to power and spectacle. It was the year 185 AD, and the city hummed with a primal energy drawn to the arena's insatiable hunger for drama. 100,000 voices, a wave of human sound, would crash against its stone walls, demanding blood, demanding entertainment. Within this crucible of human will and imperial decree, legends were not born, they were forged in the sands, often fleeting, sometimes etched into eternity. Among the countless souls forced into this brutal existence was a man named Aetius. Not born to the gladiatorial schools, he was a captured warrior from the northern frontiers, his village sacked, his family shattered. His muscular frame and fierce eyes spoke of a spirit unbroken, even in chains. But Aetius fought for more than survival, he fought for a promise. His younger sister, Lyra, had also been taken, and a whisper of freedom for them both, offered by a shrewd Lannister, was the solitary flame that kept his hope alive amidst the grim reality. Aetius's debut in the arena was unremarkable, a blur of fear and instinct. But with each contest, his unique fighting style, honed by years of frontier warfare, began to emerge. Unlike the traditional Roman gladiator, Aetius moved with a fluid, unpredictable grace, using his opponent's momentum against them. He was not a showman, but a survivor. The crowds, initially dismissive, grew intrigued by this stoic warrior who fought with grim efficiency, never celebrating, always searching for the next breath, the next fight. Weeks turned into months. Aetius's tally of victories grew, quietly at first, then with undeniable momentum. The whispers began to circulate, the ghost of the North, the unbroken. He was not yet a champion, but he was more than a mere combatant, he was a phenomenon. Even Emperor Commodus, known for his eccentric and often cruel engagement with the games, began to take notice of the gladiator who fought with such understated ferocity. The weight of Rome's attention settled heavily upon Aetius's shoulders. Every rising star casts a shadow, and Aetius's was no exception. His path inevitably led towards the Colosseum's undisputed titan, Magnus. A mountainous Gaul, Magnus had been undefeated for 7 years, his name whispered with a mix of awe and terror. He wielded a massive spatha with deadly precision, his every movement a testament to brute force and gladiatorial mastery. Magnus embodied the raw, unyielding power of the arena, and the thought of Aetius, the stoic outsider, facing him filled Rome with a potent mixture of dread and anticipation. The air of expectation reached a fever pitch. Emperor Commodus, ever keen to assert his divine authority and entertain the masses, made his pronouncement. During a lavish banquet, he declared that Aetius would face Magnus in a duel to the death. The winner would be crowned champion of champions, and, in a rare, unpredictable twist of imperial magnanimity, granted his freedom. The stakes were no longer just life or death, for Aetius, it was freedom for 2 souls, or eternal oblivion. The roar of the announcement echoed through Rome, sealing Aetius's destiny. The morning of the grand duel dawned, painting the sky over Rome with hues of anxious anticipation. Aetius spent his final hours in the cold, stone chambers beneath the Colosseum, the distant hum of the awakening city a stark contrast to his inner stillness. He sharpened his gladius, his mind not on the roar of the crowds or the weight of his opponent, but on Lyra's face, her hopeful eyes. This was not a fight for personal glory, but a solemn quest, a brother's unwavering resolve against the might of the empire and its champion. When Aetius and Magnus stepped onto the blood-stained sands, the Colosseum erupted. The sound was deafening, a tidal wave of human expectation. Magnus, a formidable figure in his heavy armor, moved with a seasoned confidence. Aetius, lighter, quicker, moved like a shadow. The initial clash was thunderous, steel on steel, a brutal dance of death. Magnus pressed with relentless power, forcing Aetius to defend, to parry, to search for the smallest opening. The battle was a microcosm of their differing paths, brute force against agile resilience. Magnus landed a crushing blow, sending Aetius reeling, his shield arm numb. For a moment, the roar of the crowd faded, replaced by Lyra's face in his mind. he would not fail her. With a surge of adrenaline, Aetius pivoted, dodging another powerful strike, and instead of blocking, he thrust, his gladius finding a chink in Magnus's heavy chest armor. It was not a fatal blow, but it was significant, the first wound Magnus had sustained in years. The crowd, sensing a shift, held its breath. The duel continued, but the momentum had shifted. Aetius, relentless, pressed his advantage. Finally, with a perfectly timed maneuver, he disarmed Magnus, his gladius now at the champion's throat. The Colosseum fell silent, the fate of Magnus, and Aetius's freedom, resting on the whim of one man, Emperor Commodus. All eyes turned to the imperial box, where Commodus, a sneer on his face, deliberated. The crowd, divided between mercy and bloodlust, roared its conflicting desires, but the final decision was his alone to make. After a moment of agonizing suspense, Commodus slowly raised his hand, and extended his thumb upwards, *mit, *release him. A roar of shock and relief swept through the Colosseum. Aetius, true to the imperial decree, was granted his freedom, and Lyra, brought into the arena, ran into her brother's arms. But freedom came with its own price. The Colosseum had left its mark, scars both visible and unseen. Aetius and Lyra walked away from the arena that day, but the echoes of its brutality, and the legend of the gladiator who fought for love, would follow them always. Aetius and Lyra vanished into the vastness of the Roman Empire, their story becoming a whispered tale, passed from merchant to soldier, from slave to free man. The Colosseum, however, continued its grim performances for centuries, its stones soaking up the blood and tears of countless lives. Yet, amidst the endless brutality, the legend of Aetius endured. A gladiator who fought not for the emperor's glory, but for a sacred promise. His tale reminds us that even within the most formidable and merciless institutions, the human spirit, driven by love and hope, can carve out its own unforgettable path.